Daf Sari Ches Amud Beis will begin Sari Ches Amud Aleph, 8 lines from the bottom at the 2 dots. The Mishnah said that if he was reading in a Sefer and a Rosh Hagag on the rooftop and it rolled from his hand, so it says, if it didn't reach within 10 of the ground, you can roll it back up to him, but if it's within 10 tefachim of the ground, then he cannot roll it back up to him. He turns it over, and so that the writing is not exposed. Why can't he roll it up to him if it's only dangling in the air? So it's not even in the Rishus HaRabim at all. Not even one end of it is in the Rishus HaRabim. And even if the whole part that he was holding in his hand fell, if he caught it in midair and he brought it up to him, there would be no chiyuv whatsoever. So what is the chashash over here? Why should it be geyser over here if it's dangling in the air? He's holding on to one end of it. The other end is not munach in the Rishus HaRabim. What malkum is there over here to be geyser? Rava says, that's not the case over here. We're talking about a kaisel mishupa. We're talking about where the wall is slanted, where the wall is sloped, meaning so the other end, the end that he's not holding on to, is not dangling in the air. It's resting on the part of the wall that's sloped. There's a part of the wall that slopes out, and it's resting on that part of the wall, so it's noch on it. There's a machlekes rishonim how we treat this wall that's mishupa. Rabbeinu Yishaya, that the Ritva brings down, Rabbeinu Yishaya holds, is that it's a karmelis. In fact, the Ritva, karmelis, we wouldn't be geyser. So it must be that the sloped part of the wall, when the sefer is resting on the sloped part of the wall, we treat this as a Rishus HaRabim. According to the Ramban, according to the Ritva, we treat it as a Rishus HaRabim, because just like we say, if there's a sugya in Gemara and Shabbos, if you threw a dveila shmena, if you threw a sticky date and it stuck to the wall, it's considered in the Rishus HaRabim, even though it's not on the ground, it's on the side of the wall. It's stuck to the side of the wall, but it's facing the Rishus HaRabim, it's exposed to and facing the Rishus HaRabim. We treat it as part of the Rishus HaRabim, and we treat it as being munach in the Rishus HaRabim. Similarly over here, if it's a kaisel mishupa, it's sloped and it's resting on the sloped part of the wall, we treat it as being on the wall, resting on the wall, facing the Rishus HaRabim as part of the Rishus HaRabim. So according to this pshat, it would be a Rishus HaRabim if it is anywhere below 10, if it's sloped and they're resting anywhere below 10. Taisus, on the other hand, says is that we're talking about where the part that's mishupa is 9 tefachim high, and just like we learned that a mound or post in the Rishus HaRabim that's 9 tefachim high, that is Rabbim Mekasvan, they put their loads over there, they rest and put their loads over there, it's considered Rishus HaRabim. Here also, the slope part is 9 tefachim high. Now, according to this pshat, it would be davka if it's 9 tefachim. If it's higher or lower than that, it would be loinicha tashmish, then it would not be considered a Rishus HaRabim. Rabbi Kiveger is medayik from Rashi, from the fact that Rashi says that if it's below 10, it's mashma that it's not davka 9. It's anything below 10 that he is holding, like the Ritva and the Ramban, and that we consider any part of the wall below 10 as a Rishus HaRabim, as long as it's mishupa and it's coming to rest, we consider it any part of it, where any height below 10 as a Rishus HaRabim. So you're saying that the Mishnah is talking about a kaisel mishupa where it's sloped, and therefore it's coming to rest over there. How could you say that? Rabbi Yehuda says, even if it's below 10, even if it's only the thickness of a pin above the ground, you can roll it up to yourself. Now, what do you mean? How could you? If you're talking about a kaisel mishupa, it's resting over there, and then he'd be bringing it from the Rishus HaRabim to the Rishus HaYachid. So if you're telling me it's a kaisel mishupa, if it's that close to the ground, it's resting over there, and that would be a deraisa. So it can't be case where it's a kaisel meshupa. So Gemara says chasur mechzer v'haketana. B'med dvarim amurim b'kaisel meshupa. When do we say that if it's with above 10, he can roll it up to himself, but below 10, he cannot? That's with the kaisel meshupa, where it's sloped. Aval b'kaisel she'ena meshupa, but if it's a kaisel which is not sloped, and therefore the other end, the part of it that he's not holding, is not resting, it's only dangling, then we say lamala mishloisha gadol lesl. If it's above 3 tefachim from the ground, then he can roll it up to himself. Then if it's 3 tefachim above the ground, then it's dangling, it's not resting on anything, and it's not within 3 tefachim of the ground, he can roll it to himself. But if it's within 3, even if it's not resting on anything, even if it's dangling, but if it's within 3 of the ground, which we would say lovwood, then you cannot roll it back up to yourself. You just have to, you turn it over. And Rav Yehuda says, even if it's so close to the ground that it's only the thickness of a pin above the ground, you can still roll it to yourself, because even if it's so close to the ground, but it's dangling, it's not resting on anything, it's not munach on the ground, it's not considered resting on the ground, so you can roll it back to yourself. Frankly, Gemara, what do you mean, velahad amarava? He says, that Rabbanan say that even if it's within 3 of the ground, it needs a hanocha. So there the case was talking where a person threw something from a Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, passing to Rishus HaYachid, rather to a Rishus HaYachid, passing through a Rishus HaRabim. And the Rabbanan hold, as opposed to Rabbi Kiva, who holds of Kluta, the Rabbanan hold, if it's just flying through the air, it's not considered munach, it's not considered resting in the Rishus HaRabim. Rava says in the sheet of the Rabbanan, it's not considered resting, and even if it passes so close to the ground that it's within 3 of the ground, it's still not considered resting on the ground. So, well, let's say that Rava is saying it dafke according to Rabbi Yehuda. Because of the way we just learned, the Rabbanan would hold that if it's within 3 of the ground, even if it's dangling, it can be considered munach. So not likely that Rava would be saying it dafka according to Rabbi Yehuda. Ella, the Gemara says, no, enechanami. Ella, it's a different pshat, el kula Rabbi Yehudi. It's all Rabbi Yehuda, there's no machlekes. V'chasur mechsev ha'achikatan. B'med dvarim amurim. When do we say that if the end that he's not holding on to, the fallen end, is below 10, that you cannot roll it up to him? That's mekaisel b'shupa. That's only when it's sloping. So it's now, if it's resting on the sloped part of it, it's considered munach over there. He cannot roll it back up to himself. It's considered resting in the Rishus HaRabim. But if it's not meshupa, it's not sloped, so therefore the end that he's not holding on to, the fallen end, is dangling, then even if it's within 3 of the ground, you can roll it to yourself, because if it's not a kaisel meshupa, it's not munach in the Rishus HaRabim. Even if it's only a hair's thickness, a thread thickness from the ground, you can still roll it to yourself. My time meant to be in hanochal gabi mashu, because it has to be resting on something. If it's dangling, even if it's so close to the ground, if it's not a kaisel meshupa, it's only dangling, you can roll it back to yourself because it's not considered to be munach in the Rishus HaRabim. Zok the Mishnah, if there's a ledge that is protruding, it's extended in front of a window. So there is a Rishus HaRabim below, there's a window, and there's a ledge in front of the window. Rashi learns that the ledge is 10 tefachim high, and it's dalet al dalet, so therefore it has a din of a Rishus HaYachid. Taisus learns that it's considered a chayre Rishus HaYachid. It's an appendage to the Rishus HaYachid. It's lav dafka 10 high and dalet al dalet, but it's a window, it's extending from the window, and therefore it's considered to be an appendage and part of the Rishus HaYachid itself. So, Bekitzer, the ziz is considered to be a Rishus HaYachid. It's now extending out, and there's a Rishus HaRabim below. Noisan of a noitel min b'Shabbos, You can put things on it Shabbos and remove things from it on Shabbos. You're allowed to take and remove things on it from Shabbos. So the Gemara will explain. Where is this is extended to? If you say, as we explained, that it's extended to Rishus Rabim, why aren't we concerned that something might fall off the ledge, might fall down to the street below, and he might go and pick it up and bring it back to him, and thereby taking from the Rishus Rabim to the Rishus Yochid, which would be a Malach D'Oraisa. Ella the Mapik, perhaps you'll say the Mapik Rishus Yochid is extended to Rishus Yochid Pshita. Well, of course. What would be the problem? Why should there be any problem at all in using it? There's no Kagazera, there's no Chashash. Omar Abaye, he says, Lolam the Mapik Rishus Rabim. Really, I'll tell you, it's extended to Rishus Rabim. Why aren't we chayshish that it might fall down, he might pick it up and bring it from the Rishus Ram to the Rishus Yochid? Or my nice and love diktani, what are the types of things that he's allowed to put on this ledge? Kalim and Ishbarim. It's breakable items, things that are breakable. So therefore, we're not concerned that he'll pick it up. If it falls, he'll bring it from the street, because if it falls, it'll break. And therefore, there's no chashash. Tanya Namahachi, we learn in the Brises, Zish, Lifnei Achalon, a ledge in front of a window, Hayosel Rishus Rabim that extends over the Rishus Rabim, Nice and Alav Karas, Kaises, Gitanis, Tzluchas. You can put over there items like plates and cups and pitchers and flasks. These things, Rashi explains, are made out of cheres, made out of clay. These are typically made out of those, the material is cheres, and if they fall, they will break. So you see, we're talking about breakable items. And therefore, you're allowed to use it because we're not chayshish. Now the Brisa continues. It says, "Mishtamish b'chol kaisel." You can use the entire of the wall, meaning if the ledge that protrudes extends from the window, it extends along the entire length of the wall. You can use the entire ledge. But the ledge only if it does not reach within 10 of the ground. But if it's within 10 of the ground, then it has to be 10 tvach or more above the ground. Now, if there's another ziz that is below that ziz, so Seisus explains, now, if there's a ledge below that, the use is not that convenient. Nevertheless, even though the bottom one, the ziz, the use is not that convenient, it's not that easy to use it, you can use that one as well. And we're not concerned that he will come and now it'll fall down to the street and he'll pick it up from the street. Ube'elyain, now on the top one, now we're not talking about the top one that we just referred to before. This is a new case. It's not talking about the top one that runs along the whole wall. Ube'elyain ein mishtamish by el keneged chaloina. On the higher one, he can only use it if it's opposite the window. So now the Gemara is going to discuss what are the circumstances of this higher one. So high is hechidami. What is the case over here when we say this higher one? Either lesbe arba malkin betur. If it doesn't have 4, so it's so narrow, and it doesn't have 4 tefach, it's not 4 by 4. It's a malkin betur. Vafilu keneged chaloina nami lo yishtamish. You shouldn't even be allowed to use it opposite the window, because since it's so narrow, there we are concerned that items will fall from there and fall down to the street, and it looks like he's throwing things into the street. Now Rashi explains, even though we said, or we learned in Masechet Shabbos, and we learned earlier, that a malkam betur, if you have a malkam betur, a threshold that is between the street and between a house, it's a sort of porch or a threshold, that you can place items from the street onto it, or from the house onto it, as long as you don't take it from the street into the house, or from the house into the street. But Rashi explains that over there, you're only using it occasionally. There we allow, but to use it over here, to use it on a regular basis, to use this sill that's so narrow and things will likely fall onto the street, this we would not permit. So this sill, if it's less be'arba, how could you use it? The isbe arba, and if it has 4 tvachim, bekula kaisel ishtamish. Why is it only opposite the window? It should be the whole area of this ledge. Amar Abai says tachtan the isbe arba. The bottom one has 4, so you can use the whole ledge. Ve'elyon les be'arba. the top one, the upper one, doesn't have 4. So it doesn't have 4. You can't use the whole ledge because, as we said, things will fall to the ground. Now, however, but the windowsill, the opposite the window, where you have the windowsill over there, that completes the area, and over there, and only over there, you have dalet. So keneged chaloin mishtamish, you can use it opposite the window, the chaloinu, because it's considered part of the ledge. It's an extension of the windowsill, and there you have dalet, so therefore it can be used properly. Over there, we allow you to use it. The also, but on the other ends of it, that were not opposite the windows, it's so too narrow over there, and it's and things might fall to the ground. There, you cannot use it. Zok the Mishnah. A person can stand in Rishus Yochid and he can move things that are in the Rishus Rabbim. Rishus Rabbim metal Rishus Yochid, and he can stand in the Rishus Rabbim and move things around that are Rishus Yochid. So if he's in a house that has a window, has an opening, he can stand in the house and move things around that are in the street. If he's in the street, he can extend his hand through the opening into the house and move things into the house. We're not concerned that he's going to now pick it up and bring it into the Rishus Rabbim or into the Rishus Yochid from the Rishus Rabbim. However, if he is now moving things in the Rishus Rabbim, it's only if he doesn't move them outside the Dalet Amas. It's only if he doesn't move it outside, because Dalet Amas, being Maver Dalet Amas in Rishus Rabbim, is a Isser Deraisa. So he cannot move the things, items, the objects, Dalet Amas in the Rishus Rabbim. The Mishnah continues, Lo Yamid on the Rishus Yochid v'Yashin Rishus Rabbim. A person should not stand in the Rishus Yochid and urinate into the Rishus Rabbim. Doing that is considered like he is being mitzi from the Rishus Yochid to the Rishus Rabbim. Or Rishus Rabbim, Yashim Rishus Yochid, or vice versa, is considered like he's transporting it from one domain to the other. V'chein lo yorik, and he should also not spit from one Rishus to the other. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says, Af mishen nislash roika befiv lo yahalach harba amasat shiyarik. He says, once the saliva collects in his mouth, he can't walk dalet amas in the Rishus Rabbim because it's considered like he's carrying the saliva. It's not considered to be part of the body anymore. Once it collects in his mouth, it's meant to be expelled, to spit out. So therefore, it's considered like he's transporting it dalet amas in the Rishus Rabbim. If he, therefore, once it collects in his mouth, he can't walk 4 amas in the Rishus Rabbim. So our version of the Mishnah is Oimed Adam Rishus Yochid Metal Rishus Rabbim, that it is mutter. But he taught it in a different way. He said he learned it lo yamed adam rishus hayachid metal rishus rabbim. He says that it's not allowed to do it, that it's also to do it. Amar lei shavkas rabbanan v'havzik Rab Meir. You abandon the sheet of the Rabbanan and you're learning it on the sheet of Rab Meir. Now we'll see in the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Aleph. The Mishnah records machlekes between Rab Meir and the Rabbanan, and Rab Meir says it's also. So he says, you're learning this version according to Rab Meir, and you're abandoning the Rabbanan. But who saw Rav Chinan or holds, he held Midasefer Rab Meir, Reishanami Rab Meir. He held, since the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Aleph, the first opinion in that Mishnah is Rab Meir. And it starts with the sheet of Rab Meir, Div Meir. So he learned that this Mishnah is a continuation of that, and therefore our Mishnah also would be therefore recording the sheet of Rab Meir. But Velohi is Sefer Rab Meir, Reish Rabban. But it's not so. Our Mishnah is Rabban. Our Mishnah, the Reish, our Mishnah, the Rabban. The Sefer is recording the different opinion, the opinion of Rab Meir. But our Mishnah is the sheet of the Rabbanan, where it is that it is mutter to transport it.